The knife in my hand trembled slightly as I cut through the roast beef, its pink center bleeding onto the white porcelain plate. The sound of the blade scraping the china made my jaw tighten. My mother's laughter floated down the table, soft, artificial, like the clinking of cheap crystal. I swallowed hard and forced a smile that didn't belong to me. "So," I said, carefully keeping my voice light, "just tell me when the reunion is." For a heartbeat, silence took the room hostage. Then my brother's voice sliced through it. "You're not invited, Maya." The words fell heavy, dead on arrival, yet somehow loud enough to fill every corner of the dining room. The chatter froze. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. My mother's hand fluttered nervously toward her glass of Chardonnay, eyes darting anywhere but at me. My father coughed into his napkin, a coward's camouflage. And my brother Ethan just sat there, shoulders squared, knife poised over his steak, eyes burning into me with that cool, calculated precision I used to admire when we were kids. I laughed softly, but my voice cracked in the middle. "Funny. You always had a dark sense of humor." Ethan didn't blink. "It's not a joke." My heart gave a slow, deliberate thud. Then another. The chandelier's light blurred above me, too bright, too cruel. I looked to my mother, searching her face for contradiction, for the slightest twitch of protest, but all I found was a faint grimace, like she'd tasted something sour. "Maya," she began, her tone careful, cautious. "This isn't the time." "Then when is the time?" I asked, my voice rising just enough to make the air tremble. "You're planning a family reunion, our first in years, and no one thought to tell me?" Dad shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his wedding band catching the light as he rubbed his temple. "We just thought it might be better to keep things simple this year." "Simple," I repeated. "Meaning without me?" No one spoke. The clock on the wall ticked with surgical precision. Somewhere outside, a dog barked, sharp, distant, irrelevant. That was when I noticed it. The same envelope on the counter I glimpsed earlier when I walked in. Ivory paper. Gold edges. A neat seal. I'd assumed it was for me, like everyone else's had been. But now I realized mine never existed. Something twisted deep in my stomach. A low burn started to rise through my chest, spreading like slow poison. "You're seriously excluding me?" "Your own sister." Ethan leaned back, his fork tapping lightly against his plate. "You made that choice when you left." Left. As if I just wandered off into the sunset. As if I hadn't been forced to run. My mouth went dry. "When I left?" "You mean when I was pushed out of this family business after 10 years of breaking my back for it?" His lip curled slightly. "You were compensated." "Compensated?" My voice cracked into a bitter laugh. "You stole my position. You took the clients I built. I walked away with nothing but a letter and a promise you never kept." Ethan's eyes didn't flinch. "You were unstable back then. You know it. We couldn't risk." "Don't you dare call me unstable," I whispered. "Not after what you did." My mother's hand reached out across the table, trembling. "Please, Maya. Let's not do this here." But it was already happening. An invisible thread had snapped, and the air between us was a live wire. I stood up slowly, the chair scraping against the polished wood floor. "So that's it? I'm out? After everything I've done for this family?" Ethan's voice dropped to a quiet, controlled murmur. "You made your bed. You should lie in it." His words weren't angry, they were dismissive. That hurt worse. Anger means someone still cares. Indifference means they've already buried you. I could feel my pulse throbbing in my temples. But underneath the hurt, something else stirred. Not rage. Not yet. Something quieter. More dangerous. Resolve. "Right," I said, nodding slowly. "Then I'll see myself out." As I turned toward the hallway, I caught a reflection in the dining room mirror. Ethan leaning slightly toward my father, whispering something that made him frown. My mother looking down at her untouched dessert, her face crumpled with the weight of guilt. No one stopped me. Outside, the night air hit like a slap. Cold, sharp, purifying. I walked toward my car, each step echoing against the concrete driveway that used to feel like home. Halfway down the path I stopped. My brother's car, the new silver one parked by the garage, had a faint glow from the passenger seat. I leaned closer. A phone screen. Messages. For a second, curiosity beat out pride. I moved closer, heart hammering. The screen lit again and I caught a glimpse of the text thread. Ethan. She doesn't suspect a thing. Unknown number. Good. Keep it that way until the papers are finalized. My breath hitched. My reflection stared back at me from the tinted glass, eyes wide. Papers. My pulse thundered in my ears. What papers? I stepped back, chest tightening as realization clawed its way through my thoughts. They weren't just excluding me from a family dinner. They were planning something official, legal, permanent, a betrayal years in the making. And Ethan was at the center of it. I drove home on autopilot, headlights painting streaks of white across the rain-slick road. My mind replayed every word, every look, every hesitation at that table. When I reached my apartment, I sat in the car long after turning off the ignition, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Somewhere deep inside me, the old version of myself, the one who'd once believed family loyalty was sacred, cracked open and began to crumble. I didn't know what papers meant yet, but I knew one thing for certain. Whatever they were planning, they didn't want me to find out. And that meant I absolutely had to. As I stepped into my dark apartment, a faint vibration buzzed from my purse. A message. Unknown number. You should have stayed gone, Maya. The blood drained from my face. The phone slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a dull thud. I wasn't just being excluded. I was being erased. The glow from my phone still lingered on the carpet, a pale, ghostly light in the dark apartment. You should have stayed gone, Maya. I stared at those words until they blurred, until my heartbeats drowned out everything else. My first instinct was denial. It had to be a prank, a mistake, a wrong number. But deep down I knew. The timing wasn't coincidence. Someone wanted me scared. Someone who knew what dinner had really been about. I picked the phone up with trembling hands and scrolled to the top of the thread. No previous messages. No name. Just that one line, sent 5 minutes after I'd left my parents' house. I locked the phone and sank onto the couch, my chest rising and falling like I'd run a marathon. The sound of the rain outside grew heavier, tapping against the windows in an irregular rhythm that made the silence unbearable. I needed answers, but I couldn't go back there, not yet. Not until I knew what I was walking into. So I did what I used to do back when I still worked at the family firm, when I handled every contract, every email, every hidden line of legal jargon my brother tried to slip past me. I opened my laptop. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a moment. Then I began searching. The company's website, public records, recent filings. It didn't take long before something caught my eye. Hartwell Holdings LLC, our family business. But the list of partners had changed. My father's name was still there. Ethan's, of course. And a new one. Rebecca Hartwell. My breath caught. That was my mother's maiden name. She hadn't gone by it in 30 years. Why was she suddenly listed as a partner again? I clicked deeper into the filings, my pulse climbing. The documents were time-stamped only 3 weeks ago. Under former partners, my name was listed. Maya Hartwell, voluntarily withdrawn. Voluntarily withdrawn. I felt a bitter laugh escape me. Voluntarily, my ass. They'd forged it. My brother must have filed my withdrawal using my old digital signature. He'd learned how to mimic it years ago when we worked late nights side by side. Him watching as I signed off on contracts, too exhausted to notice the small, dangerous things he was learning. The betrayal wasn't new. It had roots. And now, he was pruning the last of me from the family tree. I leaned back, closing my eyes, memories crashing in waves. Ethan and I had been inseparable once. Business partners, siblings, allies. He used to joke that I was his moral compass. Back then he needed me. But as our company grew, he started bending the rules, making side deals, cutting corners. I tried to stop him. He'd called me naive. Our last fight before I left was brutal. I'd found evidence he was funneling client funds into offshore accounts. I'd confronted him. He'd laughed and said, "You're not strong enough to play this game, Maya. You think integrity is currency. It's not." And then the next morning my access was revoked. My office locked. My name scrubbed from the boardroom. I thought that was the end of it. But this was worse. This was premeditated annihilation. I picked up my phone again and scrolled through my contacts until I landed on one name I hadn't spoken to in years. Daniel. My ex. And once our company's lead attorney. He answered on the third ring. Maya. His voice was cautious, like a man opening a door to find a ghost. I need your help, I said, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. A pause. Then a sigh. It's been a long time. Please. I think my brother's done something illegal. I heard him exhale sharply. Ethan. Who else? There was another silence. Then quieter. You'd better come by. But not tonight. Too risky. Tomorrow morning early. My office 7 a.m. He hung up before I could ask anything else. Too risky. The phrase sent another chill through me. I barely slept that night. Every creak in the apartment made my heart jolt. I kept my phone by my pillow, screen down, as if that could somehow keep the world out. When dawn came, I was already dressed, clutching a travel mug of coffee and a folder full of old company paperwork I'd managed to keep, the last remnants of my name on record. Daniel's office was downtown, tucked between two glass towers that looked sterile and soulless. I parked around the corner and walked the last block on foot. He buzzed me in without a word. Seeing him after so long was strange. He looked older, sharper. His dark hair had streaks of gray now, but his eyes were still steady and analytical, like he could read lies before they were even spoken. Maya, he said softly. You look tired. I gave a humorless smile. You would be too if your family tried to erase you. He motioned for me to sit, and I placed the folder on his desk. He scanned the top pages quickly, his expression tightening. I knew Ethan was ambitious, he murmured. But this is something else. Can you prove he forged it? I asked. He nodded slowly. If he used your old digital key, yes. But I'll need access to the internal database. I don't have access anymore. Daniel looked up, studying me. Then we'll need to find someone who does. A faint dread stirred in my chest. Who? He hesitated. Your mother. I blinked. What? She's a listed partner now. That means she has complete access. If she logs into the internal system, I can trace the digital path of the signature. I laughed bitterly. You think she'll help me? She wouldn't even look me in the eye last night. Daniel leaned forward. Then don't ask for help. Just visit her. Distract her. I'll handle the rest remotely. I stared at him. You want me to spy on my own mother? He gave a small, weary smile. You said you wanted proof. I closed my eyes and exhaled through my teeth. Fine. When I got back to my car, I sat for a long moment, gripping the steering wheel. The idea of walking back into that house made my skin crawl. But if this was what it took to expose what Ethan had done, I'd do it. By the time I reached my parents' estate, the afternoon sun had turned the driveway golden. I parked by the gate, heart hammering, and rang the bell. My mother opened the door after a moment, her expression startled but not unkind. Maya, I thought we should talk, I said softly. She hesitated, then stepped aside. Come in. The house smelled of lemon polish and roses, comforting and cruel all at once. I followed her to the kitchen, where sunlight poured through the bay window, glinting off the marble counters. She poured me tea, her hands trembling slightly. I didn't want things to go that way last night, she said quietly. I know, I said. It wasn't you who said it. Her eyes flickered, guilt flashing like lightning. While she looked away, I discreetly slipped my phone from my pocket and texted Daniel. Inside. Start tracking. He replied instantly. Got it. Keep her talking. So I did. I asked her about the reunion, about Dad's health, about meaningless things while every word made my chest ache. And then, somewhere between her sighs and my feigned calm, she whispered something that made my blood run cold. Ethan said it's better if you don't get involved until the transfer is done. Transfer? I asked carefully. She froze. I shouldn't have said that. Transfer of what? She pressed her lips together, then whispered. Of the company assets. Ethan said it's part of restructuring. My pulse roared in my ears. Restructuring. That was the word he'd used years ago, right before he funneled money into offshore accounts. I rose from my chair slowly. Mom, what did you sign? Her eyes filled with tears. He said it was just paperwork for the reunion sponsorship. Her voice broke off when her phone buzzed. She picked it up, glanced at the screen, and paled. Is it Ethan? I asked. She nodded slowly. He says you shouldn't be here. My phone vibrated at the same time. A message from Daniel. Got it. The documents are bad. Very bad. He's moving company funds to a private account. In your name. My breath caught. What? He's setting you up, Maya. The teacup slipped from my fingers and shattered on the tile. My mother gasped. Maya, what's wrong? I looked up at her, voice trembling. He's framing me. And outside, through the window, I saw Ethan's car pulling into the driveway. Ethan's silver car rolled up the driveway with the quiet menace of something deliberate. The sunlight glared off its hood, blinding me for a moment as I froze in the kitchen doorway. My mother turned toward me, her face pale, trembling. Please don't start anything, she whispered. Start anything? I hissed. He's setting me up for financial fraud, Mom. Before she could respond, the front door opened. Footsteps, steady, unhurried, moved through the hallway, then stopped at the edge of the kitchen. Ethan appeared in the doorway, perfectly composed in his navy suit, as if he'd just stepped out of a board meeting. His eyes flicked to the shattered teacup, then to me. Well, he said mildly. I see the visit didn't take long to turn dramatic. I took a step forward. You forged my withdrawal. You transferred the company's assets under my name. His eyebrows rose slightly, feigning surprise. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I wanted to scream, to lunge across the counter and shake the smug calm out of him. But something in his posture, relaxed, confident, stopped me. He'd anticipated this. He was already 2 steps ahead. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I glanced down discreetly. A message from Daniel. He's covering his tracks now. I can see him accessing new files remotely. He knew I was in the system. My throat tightened. Ethan wasn't just dangerous, he was prepared. I lifted my eyes back to him. You think I won't find proof? He smiled faintly. Oh, I'm sure you'll find something. The question is whether anyone will believe it came from me. My mother's voice broke the air like fragile glass. Ethan, please. Tell me this isn't true. He looked at her with a kind of cold pity. Mom, you don't understand how business works. Maya's been gone for years. She doesn't know what's at stake anymore. At stake? I snapped. You mean your greed? He turned back to me, the faintest twitch of amusement in his mouth. You always made this personal. That's why you were never cut out for leadership. Leadership? My laugh was sharp, bitter. You mean manipulation, deceit, theft. His jaw tightened and for a brief second the mask cracked. I saw something dark behind his eyes, something feral and unrepentant. You think this company ran on your ethics? He said quietly. You were dead weight, Maya. You clung to morals that cost us millions. I saved Hartwell Holdings from you. I stepped closer until only the counter separated us. You didn't save it, you poisoned it. You stole from it. He leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice. And what are you going to do about it? You don't have access, you don't have proof, and you don't have anyone left who'll take your word over mine. My mother flinched. Ethan. But he ignored her, eyes locked on me. Face it, Maya. You're the perfect scapegoat. The angry, unstable ex-partner with a grudge. When this goes public, everyone will believe you lashed out. My hands clenched so tightly I could feel my nails digging into my palms. I wanted to hit him, to scream until my throat shredded. But then I heard Daniel's voice in my memory, stay calm. Gather evidence. Don't give him leverage. I forced my breathing steady and spoke softly, almost gently. You're right about one thing. He tilted his head. Oh, I was naive before, I said. I thought loyalty mattered. I thought blood meant something. He smirked. It doesn't. I nodded slowly. Then I guess I don't owe you any. I reached for my phone, hit record and placed it face down on the counter between us. He frowned slightly. What are you doing? Talking, I said. Like family. For a moment neither of us moved. Then gradually Ethan's smirk returned. He thought I was bluffing. Family, he said softly. Do you even know what that word means anymore? You left. You vanished. You couldn't handle the pressure. I let him talk. Every venom-laced word recorded. You sabotaged deals, he continued, pacing now. You embarrassed our father. You. Stop, my mother cried. Ethan, enough. But he didn't stop. He was unraveling now, lost in his own story. You were a liability. Everything I've done was to protect the business. To protect us. You think I wanted to forge anything? You forced my hand. There it was. The confession. My pulse spiked, but I didn't move. I needed him to keep going. You don't get it, he said, voice shaking now with anger he could no longer contain. I built this empire back from your mess. And if I have to burn your name to keep it intact, I will. My mother's face crumpled. Ethan, she's your sister. He turned to her, eyes blazing. She was, until she became the problem. I reached for my phone, ended the recording, and slipped it into my pocket. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to stand tall. Then you've just confirmed everything I needed, I said quietly. He froze. What did you? The sound of a car outside cut him off. A familiar engine. My breath caught. Daniel. Ethan turned toward the window. Who's that? Someone who actually believes in justice, I said. His face darkened. You think you can win this, Maya? You think a lawyer's going to save you? I walked past him toward the front door, my voice calm now, eerily steady. Not save me. Expose you. He grabbed my arm, fingers digging into my skin. Don't you dare. I wrenched free and stepped back. Touch me again, and I'll have that on record too. For the first time I saw fear flicker across his face. Not guilt fear. Because he knew what I had. Daniel stepped inside just then, holding his phone. I traced the document trail, he said, his voice clipped. Your sister's telling the truth, Ethan. You manipulated the filings and backdated the transfers. I've already pulled the logs. Ethan's expression hardened. You broke into our system. That's illegal. Daniel's reply was cold. Not as illegal as forgery, embezzlement, and defamation. The air between the three of us was thick, electric. My mother had collapsed onto a chair, crying quietly. Ethan glanced between us, calculating. Always calculating. Then suddenly he smiled. A dangerous, resigned sort of smile that made my stomach twist. You think this is over? He said softly. You've got no idea what you've started. And before I could respond, he pulled his phone from his pocket and made a call. Yes, he said. Do it now. He hung up, met my gaze, and walked past us toward the door. Ethan! I shouted. What did you do? He didn't turn around. You'll find out soon enough. The door slammed behind him. Daniel cursed under his breath and started typing furiously on his phone. He's deleting records as we speak. If he wipes those files, we lose proof. I grabbed my keys. Then we stop him. Maya! I'm done watching him destroy everything, I said, my voice shaking but sure. If he wants to play this like war, then fine. I'll fight. Daniel hesitated, then nodded grimly. Then let's finish this. As we ran out to the car, the sky above us had turned gray, clouds gathering like a warning. The storm wasn't coming. It was already here. Rain began just as we pulled out of my parents' driveway, hard, fast drops hitting the windshield like thrown pebbles. Daniel's jaw was tight as he drove, eyes flicking between the road and the phone mounted to the dash. He's moving the funds now, Daniel muttered. Wire transfers, multiple accounts. Once it's done, it'll look like you siphoned money out of Hartwell Holdings yourself. I clenched my fists. Then we stopped the transfer. He shot me a look. You can't just walk into the office and... I built that office, I snapped. My name may be erased on paper, but my keycard still works. They never thought I'd come back. He hesitated, then nodded. Then let's make it count. The city blurred by in a haze of gray and glass. My thoughts spiraled. Every betrayal, every slight, every moment I'd chosen family over myself. It had all led here. By the time we reached Hartwell Holdings, the parking lot was half empty, gleaming wet under the streetlights. The building loomed above us, a tower of glass that once symbolized everything I'd worked for. Now it just looked cold. Hollow. We slipped inside through the employee entrance. The air smelled like disinfectant and rain-soaked carpet. Every sound, the hum of the lights, the squeak of our shoes, felt amplified, intrusive. Daniel kept his phone out, tracing digital trails in real time. He's on the top floor, he whispered. The executive suite. He's rerouting the last transfer through an offshore shell. I hit the elevator button. Then that's where we're going. As the doors closed, I caught my reflection in the mirrored wall. Eyes sharp, hair damp, jaw set like stone. The woman staring back at me wasn't the same Maya who'd once begged her brother for fairness. This was someone else. Someone done being afraid. The elevator dinged softly on the top floor. The hallway was dark except for the sliver of light spilling from Ethan's office. The door was ajar. We moved closer, quiet as ghosts. Inside, Ethan stood by his desk, typing furiously. His phone buzzed beside him, screen lighting up with numbers and confirmation codes. He didn't even look up. You shouldn't have come, Maya. My heart thudded. You shouldn't have underestimated me. He froze mid-keystroke. Slowly he turned. His eyes flicked from me to Daniel, then back again. So, he said quietly, you brought help. Not help, I said. Witness. He smiled faintly, that same cold, condescending curve of his mouth. You think you've won because you caught me in the middle of a transfer? You can't prove intent. You can't prove anything. Daniel stepped forward, voice steady. Actually, we can. The confession from earlier recorded. Every word you said about forging documents? Saved. And this? He lifted his phone, showing the digital traces of Ethan's activity in real time. This is a live capture of your transactions. Time-stamped. Irrefutable. For the first time, Ethan's mask slipped. You recorded me? You confessed, I said softly. I just listened. His eyes darkened. He took a slow step forward, and his voice lowered to a hiss. You've always wanted to destroy me, haven't you? No, I said, shaking my head. I wanted you to love me. You're the one who turned this into a war. Something flickered in his expression, something almost human, but it vanished just as quickly. You'll regret this, he said. You don't understand the kind of people involved. The partners who trusted me, who paid me to make these transfers. You think this is just me? You'll bring down everyone. Then let it fall, I whispered. His composure cracked. You're willing to ruin the entire company over pride? Over truth, I said. The difference you never cared to learn. He lunged suddenly, grabbing his phone off the desk, but Daniel was faster. He slammed his hand down on the keyboard, yanking the cable from the back of the computer. Sparks flickered. The screen went black. Too late, Daniel said. Everything's logged. Ethan stared at him, chest heaving, then turned toward me. His voice was low, trembling with something between rage and desperation. You think they'll believe you're innocent? You were part of this company, Maya. You signed things. You approved things. When this explodes, you'll be collateral damage. I swallowed hard. Then at least I'll go down telling the truth. For a long, breathless moment, none of us moved. The rain outside lashed against the windows like furious applause. Then Ethan laughed. A small, bitter sound. You really are Dad's daughter, he said. Too righteous for your own good. He walked past us toward the elevator, shoulders squared, movements calm again. But I saw the flicker of defeat in his eyes, the realization that the empire he'd built on lies was starting to crack. When the doors closed behind him, I sagged against the desk, my whole body trembling. Daniel placed a hand on my shoulder. It's over, Maya. But deep down I wasn't sure. The next days blurred together. Interviews with auditors, phone calls with law enforcement, hours spent sorting through evidence. Daniel coordinated everything. My mother, broken by the truth, agreed to testify that Ethan had coerced her into signing documents she didn't understand. And then came the final blow, the police raid. They found the offshore accounts, the shell companies, the money trail, all pointing back to Ethan. When they arrested him, the news cameras caught his face. Still defiant. Still proud. But in his eyes I saw something else. Not guilt. Not regret. Just emptiness. The story hit the press within hours. Hartwell Air arrested in massive fraud scandal. My phone buzzed nonstop, old friends, reporters, business associates, all wanting a comment. I said nothing. Because what was there to say? The family business was gone. The name Hartwell Holdings was toxic now. My father refused to speak to anyone. My mother stopped eating for days. And Ethan, my brilliant, ruthless brother, was sitting in a cell waiting for sentencing. Some nights I still couldn't sleep. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, hearing his voice in my head. You'll regret this. But then I'd remember the look in my mother's eyes the day she hugged me after the trial, raw gratitude and sorrow mixed together. And I'd know I'd done what needed to be done. Still, closure never comes clean. 2 months later, a letter arrived. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting immediately. Ethan's. I hesitated before opening it. The paper inside was lined, the writing neat, almost calm. Maya, I've had time to think. I won't apologize, you wouldn't believe me if I did. But I want you to know something. What I did wasn't about money. Not really. It was about winning. I spent my life trying to be better than you. Smarter. Stronger. You had something I never did, people believed you. I wanted that. I thought destroying you would make me whole. Turns out it just made me hollow. You won, Maya. I hope it feels good. I folded the letter carefully, staring at it for a long time. Winning. That word again. The one he'd built his entire existence around. No, it didn't feel good. Felt like ashes. I stood by the window as the sun set behind the skyline, the light golden and distant. My reflection stared back at me, older, wiser, a little lonelier. There was no victory in exposing the truth. Only survival. But maybe that was enough. Because sometimes surviving betrayal is the only revenge left to claim.